He's a genius. He can do special things with the football.
Ball still in there. Pulisic! Hat-trick!
This one drops in! And forget away!
Golazo! Golazo! Golazo!
Hey guys, welcome to the first ever Sleepy Hollow Soccer Show at sleepyhollowradio.com. I'm joined by co-host Kevin Aguirre, and we're going to be going over through all of soccer, that is Europe, the Premier League, and even American international soccer. So let's just dive right into match week 3 of the Premier League.
All right, and so I think our first topic today, it's going to be Chelsea. You know, we've gone through 3 fixtures already, 3 weekends, and so we're just trying to analyze Chelsea and see like how they've gone through like their struggles and all that. So like, let's just talk about it.
Chelsea had a strong start at the beginning of the season with a 3-1 win over Crystal Palace. Then they lost 2-0 to Liverpool, and now just recently last Saturday drawed 3-3 to West Brom.
And you know, a team like Chelsea, who's done so much in the transfer market, we can even say that they've won the transfer market with so many signings, including Thiago Silva, Mendy, you have Mangala Sarr from Nice, you have so much, even Timo Werner, Hakim Ziyech, Kai Havertz. You know, it's a team where you could call them Premier League contenders to, you know, to win the Premier League this season.
And under Premier League second-year coach Frank Lampard, Chelsea legend, there's a lot of focus on him and high expectations for the club to make a run for the title this year.
Yeah, so a team like, let's recall back to their 3-3 draw at the Hawthorns against West Brom. You know, a West Brom team who haven't been at their highest, well, since the beginning of this season. You know, we expected Chelsea to win. It would have been an easy win. However, they did go up 3-0 by halftime, but as you may have already found out, that they have tied overall full-time 3-3, which was pretty an interesting fixture.
And Chelsea was expected to go to Hawthorns, get a clean 3 points, and finish. That was the expectation, and I'm sure Frank Lampard and the club are very frustrated with that.
Yeah, and it's obviously, you know, so we're talking about Chelsea, a team who just tied 3-3 against West Brom, and now going into the Carabao Cup, they had to face Tottenham, and obviously they lost in penalties. And, you know, it's unfortunate, you know. They were playing like pretty well, but as you know, Tottenham, they did have their own chances, and unfortunately it went to not extra time, but they tied overall in the 90 minutes, and that caused them to go to penalties, which they lost with a penalty miss from Mason Mount.
I think what the problem was with that game was they scored very early on by Timo Werner, his first ever goal as a Chelsea Blue. And then they kind of, instead of continuing to attack forward, they kind of just sat back. They weren't looking to move forward, and that allowed Tottenham to come back in the second half a lot stronger and to end up getting that goal by Emerson's missed cover on the corner.
Yeah, and a really like funny highlight of the match really came down to Eric Dyer when he had to go use the bathroom during the game, in which Jose Mourinho, the Tottenham manager, was absolutely furious. And, you know, you don't make decisions like these normally in a game. You usually, like, you don't even think about going to the bathroom. Like, what's going on here?
And especially Jose Mourinho, a coach of such high class standard and expectations, like, that is very...
Yeah, this is hilarious, and to think that Eric Dyer won man of the match for this fixture, it's just mental.
And then those penalties were difficult as well, I think.
And next topic, we're talking about Manchester City, from Chelsea to another big team in England. Manchester City, you know, they faced Leicester just last weekend, but however, it was a really surprising result.
5-2, but yeah, that is unheard of. Pep Guardiola has never had a team that has conceded 5 goals in a single match.
It's ridiculous, and this has been Jamie Vardy's second ever hat-trick against Pep Guardiola's Manchester City. However, 2 of those goals did come from penalties, and a really clever finish from Jamie Vardy, and in the end it was 5-2 to Leicester City.
And to think that Pep Guardiola has spent over 400 million euros on defensive players and they're conceding 5 goals, and there's still constant questions about their defense. I know they signed Ruben Diaz officially the other day, but it just seems like they can spend an infinite amount of money, almost like a fantasy land, and it's still not helping that defense.
Yeah, we're talking about a Manchester City team who conceded 3 penalties in the last game, which is not typical from Guardiola's men. At this point, what I think my opinion would be is for Eric Garcia to move to Barcelona. We know he's been heavily linked to the club. You know, with the signing of Ruben Diaz, I think that could be a strong ad for Guardiola's men in defense. And yeah, and seeing Nicolas Otamendi, a man who's getting old, and you know, seeing his career flop sort of, seeing him to Benfica, it's a good swap deal.
It's definitely a good swap deal. It's crazy how Manchester City, they're just proving how they can spend all of this money, and they still haven't won the Champions League yet.
Yeah, and so moving on to the next topic, we're looking at surprising teams in the Premier League, or we could consider them like teams who have reached, they've been doing so good unexpectedly, teams who we think that are going to be relegated. And I think one of the main teams who really surprised me so far is Aston Villa, with their signings, with Matty Cash, with Bertrand Traore, with Ollie Watkins. This is a team who beat Fulham 3-0 at the Craven Cottage, and it's really surprising what this team is capable of.
Aston Villa they're the only team in the Premier League to not concede a goal this season. Who would have thought that? That's
ridiculous. And speaking of conceding goals, Sheffield United have gone 3 games in a row without scoring a goal. Now, this is pretty shocking considering they were about to qualify for the Europa League last season. You know, they had a tremendous campaign last season, and well, who can tell what's going to happen now?
During the restart period, which after lockdown, they were one of the stronger teams. They beat Chelsea 3-0, and no one expected that. They've been very strong, but they also lost their goalkeeper.
Yeah, Dean Henderson, former Manchester United player, you know, who's gone back from his loan at Sheffield United for 2 seasons. You know, he's been a key part to the Sheffield United side last season, you know, and as well as, the signing of Ethan Ampadu from Chelsea and Oliver Burke. I think they were pretty decent signings, but at the same time, you have Jack O'Connell, John Egan, who's been suspended. They've gotten red cards during the last 2 fixtures, and you know, they're really solid defenders. But
it doesn't look good for them. I think we can go back to right now. There are 4 teams in the Premier League undefeated: Aston Villa, Everton, Liverpool, and the 4th one being, what was it? What was the 4th one again? Leicester City. Leicester City was the 4th. And I think the second most surprising one of them is Everton.
Yeah, absolutely. Everton, they've increased their midfield massively with the signings of Abdoulaye Doucouré from Watford, Alan from Napoli, and James Rodriguez from Real Madrid.
And James Rodriguez, he's turned into this completely new player. He was struggling at Madrid, and now he's in the Premier League. He already has an assist. He's having great performances, and they haven't lost.
Yeah, who would have thought James Rodriguez to Everton was ever going to be a good move? I mean, whoever thought? This was shocking. You know, normally you would see a player with the quality like James, you would probably see him join Atletico Madrid, or at the very least, you could have him go to a lower La Liga side, possibly Real Sociedad. But to Everton, to the Premier League, that's a big move.
And not just moving to Everton, he has fit right into that club and right into the Premier League. Premier League's such a physical league; it's very difficult to adapt to, and he is fit right in.
Yeah, well, you talk about the chemistry between him and Carlo Ancelotti. Obviously, they've been through it all together. You know, at Real Madrid, especially. Ancelotti loves a player like James Rodriguez, and I think with this chemistry, they could reach some good place in the Premier League this season.
And I think the other impressive we've talked about them a little more earlier, but Leicester City, during restart, they missed out on Champions League by 1 point.
Yeah.
And they were up, I think 8 points in the middle of the season in third above Chelsea, and now they missed out on Champions League, but since at the beginning of the season, they've just come firing out of the gate, ready to go.
Yeah, like you said, Aidan, Leicester City, they were poor after the restart, after, all this coronavirus, like things happened. And so, we didn't see a Leicester team that dominant as they were before. And now you have the signings of Castagna, Under from Roma, and now Wesley Fofana from Saint-Etienne. This could be a team which could possibly go into the Champions League like this season. I mean, you saw what happened at the Etihad with Manchester City. I mean, who knows what this Leicester team could really accomplish.
And I think that, they're impressive. I think the last undefeated team has been Liverpool. There have been a lot of questions surrounding their club, especially during the restart. They secured the Premier League pretty early on, but it seemed like they weren't the strongest. Many people were questioning they were just losing because they had already won. Also, people thinking like their form was just off.
Yeah, this goes back to the Community Shield final between Liverpool and Arsenal. You have a team that tied against Arsenal with Mikel Arteta in charge and lose to penalties. That is pretty shocking. And it's not like Liverpool, it's not like Arsenal played bad. They were really good, actually. And Liverpool, they just weren't as the same as they were last season. Or before the restart, when they drew to Everton, when they lost to Arsenal in the Premier League last season.
Especially this defense.
Yeah.
Virgil van Dijk, in the game against Leeds, he had that crucial error that just gifted Leeds a goal.
Yeah, that game against Leeds, it was nice. What a way to bring
kick
back
off the season.
Bring back the Premier League. I mean, a 7-goal thriller, especially with the newly promoted team such as Leeds, who they do look promising. I mean, after a 16-year absence from the first top flight, you have a team which has so much potential, such good young talent, and to score 3 goals at Anfield, that's not an easy thing to do.
That's unheard of.
Yeah,
that is crazy.
Yeah, and so Liverpool's latest game, they played against Arsenal, but again, Andy Robertson committed an error which led to a goal from Arsenal. So again, with the defensive errors, and I think it's something that it's definitely you can fix it, but it's part of it deals with confidence, and if this Liverpool team somehow loses confidence throughout this campaign, then you can kiss that title goodbye.
That is, yeah. I think the last team we can cover, it's been Arsenal, and they're coming into the season after winning the FA Cup and the Community Shield on fire. Aubameyang's been having impressive games, and now with the new signing of Willian, it seems like they could even make a run for top 4.
Yeah, and a defender, they signed Gabriel from Lille in France. He's a solid defender, and the chemistry that he's had with Nicolas Pepe, also former Lille player. They could build up. I mean, Arsenal, this is a team which we see now constantly going into the Europa League group stage, and imagine last year they didn't even place in the top 7, which is nuts. And if it weren't for that FA Cup victory, then Wolves would have taken their place. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's great. I think definitely. And now I think the final team we're missing out, Man United. Shaky start, loss against Crystal Palace. And there's questions in the air about if they're the same team as they were in the restart, because during the restart they were the best team in the Premier League by far.
Yeah, absolutely. And they haven't been too busy with the transfer market. The only signing they've made was Donny van de Beek from Ajax, and he's a solid signing. I mean, he has potential to become a big star in the Premier League, but just one signing isn't enough. I mean, you've seen how they've struggled against Brighton the past weekends, where they scored a penalty due to VAR after the full-time whistle. That is crazy.
That is just absurd.
Yeah, and it brings this whole new Premier League handball rules. Are they even paying attention to this, or what's going on there?
We're gonna take a short break, and we're gonna come back, talk about the handball rules, the new Premier League rules.
All right, guys, welcome back to the soccer show on SleepyHollowRadio.com. And right now, the big discussion is the transfer window, especially with Barcelona and Lionel Messi. So what's the deal there?
The Lionel Messi, he at the end of the season, he requested to leave Barcelona as he was frustrated with what the ownership and the board has been doing with his career almost. He's been trying to win Champions League titles, and they finished their season with a 8-2 loss to Bayern Munich, who, credit to them, they're an amazing team, but a team like Barcelona, just embarrassing to lose by that much.
Yeah, this is real like sad news for Barcelona, especially when leaving this last campaign without a single trophy. You expect at least one trophy from a team with such quality like Barcelona, but in the end, it all comes down to the players, the board, especially with Messi, who hasn't been in a good mood with Barcelona or the board or the president, Josep Bartomeu.
And the debate was, the problem was with his contract was that in the contract it stated that at any point in his career during June, which is the normal end of a season, he can request to leave the club. But due to COVID and coronavirus, the end of the season ended in August, and the La Liga, they sided with the Barcelona board in that if a team wanted to sign Messi, they would have to pay the €700 million transfer fee, which is absurd.
Yeah, this $700 million fee, I mean, only few clubs in the world could afford that price. You're looking at teams like Manchester City, PSG. I mean, those are the two main clubs in Europe who have enough money, and they could have brought Messi from Barcelona. And however, Messi's dad, George Messi, did have a meeting with Bartomeu, and they sorted out. They said Messi was going to stay there for one last year, and we'll see if he decides to stay or not.
It's very frustrating, especially saying like the Messi, arguably the greatest of all time, is trying to just leave a club because he wants to do new things in his career, join the Premier League, and Barcelona really just turned a cold shoulder to him and said, "You're staying here."
Yeah, this is crazy. And I do believe that, obviously Messi was linked with the move to Manchester City, and one of the contracts did state that he would stay at Manchester City for 2 seasons, then move on to the MLS to NYCFC. That is crazy.
That is crazy.
That's crazy. And imagine seeing Messi at the Yankee Stadium playing for NYCFC in the future.
Get your tickets in advance.
Like one of the best soccer players of all time being right here, right in front of us. That would be like crazy.
In New York City and the Big Apple, that's awesome.
Yeah, we could see, I mean, if that does happen, we could see NYCFC as contenders for the MLS Cup.
And that contract could just get pushed one more year back.
Absolutely. But the key thing is that Messi, he's unhappy at Barcelona. He's not thrilled to score, as like we've seen like in the past weekend when they played they played, and so Messi did score a penalty, and then there's not that much excitement for him to celebrate at this point, especially with all the things that's going on with the Barca
and
board.
Especially with like Suarez, he walked out the back door. He was gone to Atletico Madrid.
Yeah, this is a similar situation to David Villa, who in 2013 he was doing so well with Barcelona, and they decided to let him go, join rivals Atletico Madrid. And it's crazy how that same year, the 2013-14 season, Atletico managed to make it to the Champions League finals and win the La Liga trophy. That's pretty insane.
And like talking about just like clubs just like mistreating their players, and you just talk about Gareth Bale, world-class footballer, and he's just the last year has just been sitting on the bench, untapped like talent.
Yeah, and it's good to see him go back to a team like Spurs, who he had plenty experience with this team, and it's pretty like, it's nice, it's lovely to see him back in the Premier League. Hopefully he doesn't pick up as much injuries as he had in Real Madrid during his whole time there in Spain. Hopefully we can see him perform well in the Premier League.
And that front three is scary. You have Heung-min Son, Harry Kane, and Gareth Bale. That's an unstoppable front three.
Yeah, I mean, this should be a massive improvement from the Tottenham team, who managed to qualify for the Europa League qualification rounds, as they now are going to tomorrow battle it out to see if they'll make it to the group stage or not, which pretty sure they will. I mean, yeah.
3 matches in 1 week, which is crazy.
Yeah.
And I think we should talk about probably the team that won the window, that went absolutely absurd during the window, was Chelsea.
Yeah.
They spent a ton of money.
Yeah.
Lampard driven. He wanted so many new players. Werner, Ziyech, Havertz, Chilwell, Thiago Silva, now Edouard Mendy, new goalkeeper, Malang Sarr.
Yeah, this is like literally FIFA career mode where you just buy, you have all the money in the world, you could just buy whatever player you want. It's really turned out like this, and it's crazy though. Frank Lampard did spend some big money on these players. Well, actually, this was like a sort of a bargain with Thiago Silva, a player with a lot of experience, obviously, from PSG going to Chelsea as a free agent. That's pretty insane.
It's crazy that many people, it just kind of shows Frank Lampard and what he's done for the game. He was one of the best midfielders in the world, and now that he's coaching back at his former club, it's like, who doesn't want to play for him?
Yeah. Speaking of the Premier League, now we're going to talk about our Premier League predictions. And Aidan, I think we'll start with you.
Yeah, we can start. I just think who's going to win. We're going to talk about who's going to win the Premier League, and then we're also going to talk about who's going to be relegated. So we'll start with relegations. I have Fulham, newly promoted, Brighton, and also West Brom Albion. I believe, especially their clubs. They're coming to the Premier League. They're strong. West Brom, they draw to Chelsea on Saturday, but I don't see any purpose or skill that will get them over to survive.
Yeah, so my Premier League relegation predictions, well, keep in mind that this was before all the transfers had occurred with every club, so it's really a bad idea to do your predictions after before the transfer market even opens. But basically, who I had for 20th was at Fulham. Obviously, I mean, this is a team, again, like Aidan said, newly promoted, but I believe that this is the same. It's like a similar team as they had back 2 seasons ago in the 2018-19 campaign. And yeah, they're gonna go down. They've made some decent signings, but it's not gonna.
Yeah, for Fulham, they have made a few signings, but these signings have been players especially Leeds. Leeds has been going crazy in the transfer market. Fulham's been signing players to kind of just fill holes in their team, but they're not signing anyone who's gonna impact the team immediately and really carry them over. Yeah,
well, I put 20th for Fulham. 19th, I said Aston Villa. This is now pretty shocking now because. I did this before they signed all the players that they did. Well, Aston Villa, a team who had 20 losses last season, somehow managed to survive relegation. And ideally, I do think Aston Villa is gonna go down. They still have the same coach. They still have, obviously they've made some upgrades with their striker and right back midfield position, but I don't think Aston Villa, they're going to stay up again. I think they will get relegated.
People are going to think you're crazy after they started with 3 wins, but
yeah,
a lot can change.
Yeah,
definitely. Especially with form, they can just start losing and they don't pick it up.
Yeah, and for 18th, I said West Brom, obviously, once again, newly promoted team. They haven't actually made that much in the transfer market. They have made some permanent signings from loan players last year, like Mateus Pereira, Filip Brovinovic, and Grady Diangana from West Ham. But this is literally ideally the same team last year that they played in the championship. And yeah, they did have some struggles in the championship. It wasn't an easy flight back to the top for West Brom.
Definitely a difficult flight back for them, but they've persevered, and we'll see how they do. But so far, good start. Now we're going to go through our 3 teams that are going to miss out on the top. We're going to talk about the 3 teams, 4, 5, and 6, who we think the team that'll just squeak into the Champions League. Obviously, number 5 is Europa League, and then 6 is Europa League qualifiers. For my number 6, I had the Wolverhampton Wolves. I just think their team, this Portuguese team, they just recently signed Nelson Semedo. They have João Moutinho, Ruben Neves at midfield, and then Adam Traore, who's an absolute beast of a football player.
Yeah, I agree.
I think all of that fire, and Raul Jimenez.
Yep.
They are going to just smoke teams and just squeak right into the top 6.
Yeah, so for my sixth position, I did say Tottenham. Again, this was before all the transfers that happened with Gareth Bale, Matt Doherty, Sergio Reguilon, Pierre-Emerick Aguirre. And so this is, again, 6th place for Tottenham. I didn't see them improving this year. I mean, ideally it's the same team as last year. And yeah, I think 6th position is.
And now Gareth Bale, that's going to be a huge impact.
Yeah, now I could definitely see Tottenham going up, but yeah, 6th position I put for them.
Number 5, we both have Arsenal in our prediction. I think we can both agree Arsenal has come out of the gate very strong.
Yep.
Especially riding the momentum of the FA Cup and also the Community Shield.
Yeah.
Arteta's a genius coach. He doesn't get enough credit.
Yeah, especially with the new signings with Gabriel, Willian. This is a team who they did lose against Liverpool 3-1, and their confidence may be shifted they could go a bit down, but in the end, I do believe Arsenal will make the Europa League this season.
Seems like their youngsters especially are stepping up, like Bukayo Saka.
Yeah,
he's been
Reece Nelson,
shining. Reece Nelson.
Nketiah, yep.
They've been doing very well, and then their defense isn't it's very old. They have David Luiz, but it seems like that team is forming together and should peak at the right time, especially with Baoyang, probably the best striker in the Premier League leading it.
Yeah, so next up, our 4th position, we both put Liverpool. Well, my reasoning for Liverpool is, they did win the Premier League last season, and they look like a solid squad, but this is, again, the literally, you could see a team like Liverpool flop. I mean, it has some possibilities of doing that.
Liverpool, especially during before the lockdown, it seemed like Liverpool was just losing their stride.
Yep.
They lost in the Champions League. They lost 3-0 to Norwich City. They were just all over the place.
Yeah, and it was before lockdown that we thought we would see a Liverpool team just like the Invincibles Arsenal back in the 2003-04 season, where they went all games without a single loss in the Premier League.
And then they kind of just had this meltdown, and yes, they were so close to title, ended up winning very early in. Chelsea secured them that win by beating Manchester City, but it seemed like it wasn't the same Liverpool team.
Yeah, Liverpool with the top 3 or top 4, I mean, I could definitely see them securing Champions League football next season, definitely.
Yeah, I can see them securing Champions League football, but I just don't think it's the same club. Yes, they've made new signings, Thiago Alcantara, but I don't know. I just think that, especially Klopp, great coach, but it's hard to repeat such an amazing season, 99 points. Extremely difficult.
Yeah. So for now, this is the top 3. My prediction for 3rd place was Chelsea, and yes, actually this did happen right. I did make this prediction right after all the new signings except for Mendy, but Chelsea, it's a team who have potential. I mean, last year I thought they would make it to the Europa League. I mean, because Frank Lampard, he's only coached by that time he only coached Derby County, but they did lose the EFL Championship playoff final against Aston Villa that year with Frank Lampard in charge. So I thought maybe Frank Lampard wasn't as strong, but it did underestimate him. He's actually a pretty solid coach, and I think Champions League football for Chelsea. I think it's gonna happen.
That team last year was just youngsters, new players.
Yeah.
Never played in the Premier League before. All from their academy. Tammy Abraham, Mason Mount, Reece James, Tomori. They all they stepped up when Lampard needed them to, and they were able to secure top 4.
Yeah, and with these signings, these key signings, I mean, they're all pretty amazing players. I mean, there's no doubt in that. And yeah, we could see. I mean, Chelsea could possibly win the league. You never know, but
we have the same 3 teams, and our top 3 it's all mixed up. I have Chelsea at number 1. I just think if they were able to get top 4 led by Lampard with these youngsters, Mason Mount, Tammy Abraham, and Callum Hudson-Odoi, who's been starting to shine, starting to peak, get a lot better, especially with his speed. Now they are being reinforced by all of these signings. Timo Werner, he can play striker. Hakim Ziyech on the right. Pulisic, he'll be back healthy in a few weeks.
Yeah.
Put him on the left. Havertz in the middle, or Mount. Kovacic, player of the year. Amazing player. And N'Golo Kante, he just holds that whole team together. Also, the problem last year was that their defense wasn't very strong.
Yeah.
Like, that's what they were just known for, just having defensive collapses. And Kepa Arrizabalaga, terrible season last year.
Yeah, I think everyone could agree on that. And so, they brought up a player like Edouard Mendy from Rennes, and, he's a sick signing. I mean, he's a decent goalkeeper, especially. And now Thiago Silva, I mean, we did see him slip up against West Brom. Maybe it was just because, like, he's got the first stage jitters. I mean, but there is definitely some recovering after that.
And then also, they're with Aztia Pleka on the right, and a new signing Ben Chilwell on the left.
Yeah.
And those, like, I think Kurt Zouma, best center back of the club, has really been stepping up lately.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that center back pairing last night against Tottenham with Tomori and Zouma was a great force. That last goal, that wasn't on them. That was on Emerson.
Yeah.
The left back. So I just think Chelsea will, yes, they've had a slow start, but they will definitely pick it up once Kai Havertz and Timo Werner adjust to the Premier League and Pulisic and Ziyech are back in full strength.
Yeah. So, Aidan, let's hear your number 3 position.
My number 3, I had Manchester City. I just think, like, Pep Guardiola, he's an amazing coach, mastermind. They've just, like, especially, they've had holes in their defense. As we've seen so far, they're struggling. They've tried to fix it. I just think that defense will struggle to be good. Last year, they were a good team, especially early on. But during, like, the restart, they kind of flattened a little bit. I know Chelsea, they were able to capitalize against Manchester City early on to give it to Liverpool. They just didn't seem like the team that I'm used to.
Yeah, I agree.
We're used to a scoring team, and they lost Leroy Sané, huge loss, and it's hard for, like, Sterling, Aguero.
Yeah, they lost David Silva as well.
David Silva, they lost him, great player.
Yeah.
Great at creating space, and it's difficult to rebuild from all that.
Yeah. So next up, number 2 position. Surprisingly, now this is going to sound really dumb considering their form right as of now, but for second place I put Manchester United. Now
I had Manchester United as well. They were the best team during the restart.
Yeah. Especially with Bruno Fernandes,
The signing of Bruno Fernandes during the winter transfer window was huge for them. Bruno Fernandes just transformed that whole team and was the glue, kind of brought everyone together.
And now seeing a midfield with Fernandes, Pogba, and Donny van de Beek, this looks like a pretty solid midfield, and you could reach big things with this Manchester United squad.
And Bruno Fernandes allows for Pogba to kind of, like, show his full talent, his full potential. He's able to move into wider areas instead of just Paul Pogba getting all the attention. He's able to stretch it with Bruno Fernandes. Yeah,
nowadays Bruno Fernandes does receive some hate, some backlash for just scoring penalties, but I'm against that basically. I do think he's still a solid player. I think I wouldn't consider him overrated, but he's good. He
creates lots of chances.
Yeah,
in front of the goal.
Absolutely.
Which is very good. Then you can go into your eye at number 1, Chelsea. Already discussed them. They're very strong, and you had Manchester City, I see.
Yeah, Manchester City, I mean, they did slip up last year in the Premier League title race, but I do think with the skilled and experienced coach like Pep Guardiola, arguably one of the best coaches of all time, well, behind Sir Alex Ferguson, obviously, but this is a City team who they brought Ferran Torres from Valencia. They brought Nathan Ake from Bournemouth to help out the defense a little bit. But yeah, I do see City winning the Premier League. But they lost to Leicester City 5-2. I mean, I'm not keeping my hopes high, but yeah, I definitely see Manchester City winning the Premier League.
It's a long season.
Yeah,
a lot can
it is
change.
Going to be. Yep.
Form changes month to month. There's always new teams making runs. So we'll see. We're going to take a short break. We're going to come back, talk about the Champions League and how it all wrapped up, and then also some of the Americans on the rise around Europe.
All right, welcome back to the Soccer Show on SleepyHollowRadio.com. Coming up next is we have the Champions League talk. We discussed the Champions League final that happened just a few months before, well, in August. But yeah, let's talk about it.
Bayern Munich against PSG. Bayern Munich, the most dominant team in Europe right now.
Yeah, and who would have thought PSG would have made it all the way to the final? I mean, it certainly wasn't an easy task. I mean, they somehow managed to beat Atalanta in the quarterfinals. I mean, I would have thought Atalanta would have gone through, but PSG,
they were in very good form, and I think what helped teams, what was very new about the Champions League, there weren't second legs. In Lisbon, it was just you played one game on to the next one.
Yeah, for safety precautions from what was happening around the world with COVID. And we're talking about a Bayern Munich team who they've won the treble this past season. I mean, big congrats to them. They're arguably like the best team in the world as of now. I mean,
that's crazy. And we can talk about like PSG to start the season. They've kind of had a meltdown.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, especially that 1-0 loss to Marseille. I mean, it was a really interesting fixture. I mean, especially with like the 5 red cards.
And at the end, that was absurd.
It was really crazy. I mean, there was talks about there was like as you've seen like a big fight between Neymar and Marseille defender Alvaro Gonzalez, former Villarreal defender, and there was like rumors saying that Alvaro was being racist to Neymar. I mean, this is crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was unconfirmed, but it was crazy how that all went down.
Yeah, and then this led to like kicks and red cards, and in the end, it was a impressive win for Marseille, 1-0 at the Parc des Princes.
And I just think it was frustrating. It's been frustrating for PSG, especially with the loss of Thiago Silva. I'm not saying that their attack has been very slow. They lost 1-0 to Lens and then 1-0 to Marseille.
We're talking about a Lens team who they didn't look that sharp at the beginning of their first fixture. A Lens team who had been promoted from League 2 last season. I mean, obviously we would have seen PSG winning, but like no.
And many people refer to League 1, the league in France, as kind of a farmers league where PSG should be dominating every single year.
PSG, I mean, you never know what could happen with any league at this point. I mean, look at the Bundesliga as well. I mean, they consider it a farmers league, yet Hoffenheim just like they defeated Bayern 4-1 last weekend.
I was shocked by that.
This was crazy.
That was Bayern Munich's first loss since December 2019.
I mean, it's crazy. Andre Kramaric from Hoffenheim, he's having one heck of a beginning of the season, for such like a promising talent in world football today, as well as however Alphonso Davies, you've seen him like do bits last season in the Champions League. I mean,
Alphonso Davies locked down. He locked down Messi in that 8-2 win. He did an amazing job in the final. He's able to push up the field with his speed and get back.
He's really fast. That's what's quite impressive of him, and the fact that he came from the Vancouver Whitecaps in the MLS to a team like Bayern Munich and be in the regular starting 11. This is mental for like a player from the refugee camps in Liberia moving to Canada and pursuing his dream of being a football player. I mean,
his story is amazing, and I think we should just talk about the value of Champions League. The amount of money it brings in for teams is like when Liverpool won the Champions League in 2019, they made 74 million. That is just off of prize money. Mm-hmm. So it's probably even more. They're making even more off of vendors, stadiums, stuff like that.
Yeah, and speaking of money, let's talk about UEFA Player of the Year. And so the 3 main candidates for this trophy, we have Kevin De Bruyne from Manchester City, we have Robert Lewandowski from Bayern Munich, obviously the champions, and we have goalkeeper Manuel Neuer, also from Bayern Munich. So, Aidan, let me ask you this. Who do you think is going to win the UEFA Player of the Year?
I think Robert Lewandowski. He deserves it the most.
Definitely, yes. I agree.
He's getting pretty old.
He's 32.
He's 32, but he is evolving into such an amazing striker. He's not the fastest, but he's very good at interpreting space, getting open for his teammates, passing. That assist he had the other day.
Yeah, against Sevilla.
Against Sevilla, where he put it through his legs. That is amazing. And I feel bad for him. Obviously, the Ballon d'Or.
Yeah, a Ballon d'Or segment which it was canceled due to COVID this year, but I think it should have never been canceled in the first place. Lewandowski would have won it for sure. I mean, another like close candidate for winning UEFA Player of the Year and possibly Ballon d'Or, Kevin De Bruyne. Possibly arguably one of the best midfielders today. But for De Bruyne, I mean, He hasn't won that much lately with Manchester City, but still a solid midfielder for the English team. But
De Bruyne has been very talented. He's been a very good season.
Yeah, in the end, it really does come down with the trophies like you've won. And for Lewandowski, he's won the Champions League with Bayern Munich. So I think he would be the clear winner for the UEFA Player of the Year.
And I know Neuer, he hasn't gotten a lot of credit. I don't think he should win UEFA Player of the Year.
Yeah.
But his performance in the final was outstanding.
And especially this last-minute save in the UEFA Super Cup against Sevilla. You know, we're talking about Sevilla, a team who's just won the Europa League. And this was crazy. It was like a really fast counterattack in the last minute where you had Sevilla forward Youssef En-Nesyri hit the ball, and it came off, I believe it was the knee of Neuer. I'm not quite sure, but it was a pretty fantastic save.
And Neuer's getting old, but it seems like he's still got it.
Yep.
He's still doing amazing for Bayern Munich.
Yeah.
I think we can go into an American preview, talk about all the Americans around Europe. It's really turned in over the past 5 years. So many good young American players have emerged into the Premier League, Bundesliga, Serie A, and have just jumped right into starting lineups.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, first American we have here is Gio Reyna, son of USA men's national team legend Claudio Reyna, star for Borussia Dortmund, and American, just like Christian Pulisic, who's been at Borussia Dortmund. He's been a star as of now. Obviously, I mean, he's been great on the pitch. I think he could be he could end up being a Christian Pulisic. I mean, going to Chelsea.
He fit right into that team. In the DFB Pokal, the German Cup tournament, he had an assist and a goal, an amazing free kick that went his way. Yes, it deflected off of Axel Witsel, but amazing. And then recently, he got his first ever Bundesliga goal.
Yeah,
which is amazing. He just kicked
insane.
it, drove give and go right into the bottom corner, which is crazy. And I think we should talk about, like you already brought him up earlier, Christian Pulisic. Man, he's been outstanding for Chelsea.
Yeah, I could still picture the goal he's had last season at Anfield against Liverpool when Liverpool won 4-3. I mean,
he was so composed in the box. Just took the touch, turned around, boom.
Yeah, and it's crazy though. Like since last season, he's been on fire. I mean, he's had a hat trick against Burnley at the Turf Moor. I mean,
his speed is amazing.
He can dribble, he can shoot, he's fast. I mean, what more would you want from a left wing?
That's amazing. Yeah, I know. There's been always questions about his injuries. I know he had a hamstring injury in the FA Cup. He would have scored again against Arsenal, but it's unfortunate.
It's good to see Frank Lampard really relying on Christian Pulisic, giving him time to play. I mean, now that he's injured, I mean, he's not playing obviously, but
just hope for a speedy. Once he's fully fit, he'll be right back in that squad.
Yep.
Just hope for a speedy recovery, and that Christian Pulisic, he's here to stay. He's amazing.
Absolutely. Next up on the Americans on the rise, we have Weston McKennie. Formerly from Schalke in the Bundesliga. He's now transferred on loan to Juventus, and I think this is a midfielder he's promising. He looks like a decent midfielder. I mean, now playing with the likes of Cristiano Ronaldo, Buffon. I mean, we could see him accomplish possibly a Serie A title with Juventus.
And with Juventus, that team is with Ronaldo, Dybala, Morata. That team's only just going to elevate him. It'll force him to be better.
Absolutely. I mean, it's like I said, you could see Juventus winning another Serie A, maybe a Coppa Italia, maybe even a Champions League, but I'm not sure yet as of now. But, a Juventus team, they've been on form, especially with Weston McKennie, and I think he makes a good teammate in the starting 11.
Yeah, McKennie, playing for the best team in Serie A, that's going to make him an impressive player coming around for this Gold Cup in 2021.
Yeah.
And then we can talk about Tyler Adams for RB Leipzig. He had, after Timo Werner left, they had to roll into the Champions League, and Tyler Adams, he scored a goal against Atletico Madrid.
Yeah, I mean, when you see players on the pitch for RB Leipzig, you don't expect a midfielder like Tyler Adams to score and send them to the semifinals of the Champions League. I mean, this is a big accomplishment, especially for a young American like Tyler Adams, who's played in the MLS with the New York Red Bulls. And this kid, it's like I said with the other Americans. They look promising. They look like they have the full potential to become like great American legends, like Landon Donovan and like so much more.
Dempsey,
Claudio Reyna,
yeah.
Dempsey, yup. And with Tyler Adams, I could definitely see him. I mean, he's going to stay at Leipzig for the rest of the year, but I could definitely see him going up to a bigger team, like
even
possibly
making a move to the Premier League.
Yeah,
It's definitely possible.
I mean, yeah. Yep.
And then we can talk about like the two Americans here. We have Conrad de la Fuente at Barcelona.
Yeah.
First American to make the Barcelona first team.
I didn't even know that he played for Barcelona. I mean, this is crazy. I mean,
He's very young, very talented. And then also we have Serginho Dest.
Yes.
From Ajax to Barca.
Yes, he's had a good season with the Dutch champions, and Serginho Dest, heavily linked with the move to Barcelona, but I do believe it's happening with the source of Fabrizio Romano. He has landed in Barcelona as of now, and he's looking to sign a contract with the Spanish side, and we could see I think this is a perfect replacement for Nelson Semedo, who went to Wolves,
And he'll fit right into that starting 11.
Yeah, absolutely.
He'll shine. And then the American striker, Josh Sargent for Werder Bremen. He had an impressive game the other day.
Yep.
He may not have scored, but he had loads of opportunities creating chances for a team.
It's crazy how all these Americans, most of these Americans, they're from the Bundesliga, which is insane. I mean, obviously you have others who are playing in La Liga, Premier League, but it all comes down to the Bundesliga. I mean, this is one of the most, I would consider underrated leagues of in the world right now. I mean, Bundesliga has its upsets, it has its surprises. I mean,
And very fast paced.
yeah, absolutely.
High counterattacks.
I mean, look what's happened with Leipzig. I mean, this is a team who didn't even exist 10 years ago, and now you have a team who's constantly competing for European competitions. I mean,
Semi-final Champions League.
anything could happen at this point. Absolutely.
It's absolutely ridiculous. And I think, we can transition. Thank you for watching our first episode.
Thanks a lot. And next week we'll discuss Premier League handball rules, which we didn't cover today, as well as Europa League and Champions League predictions now that the group stage draw will be official tomorrow, and as well as match week 4 of the Premier League and all the fixtures that we'll get to see.
Thank you for watching, and we'll see you guys next week.
All right, guys, have a good one.
He's a genius. He can do special things with the football.
Ball still in there. Pulisic! Hat-trick!
This one drops in. And forget away.
¡Gol arco! ¡Golazo! ¡Golazo!